Oh, it's always a worry. It's always a worry when I do the road show. I knew this was gonna happen. Luckily, I'm kind of a whiz, not to toot my own horn, but Mark Wagner here, DentalBytes. It's a road show. Doing a road show. A good friend of mine, and all our kids. A little spring break impromptu trip up the Sunshine Coast in Seychelles. It's a beautiful place. If you've not been, I highly recommend check it out. Check it out. Check it out. I've got a guest online today that is it's if there was a time to do like an easy show where I've got a guest that could sort of like take the reins and run with it. How are you doing, Gurtej? White Coat Financial. We were just talking before we jumped on. Like, interesting times, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and I'll take that as a compliment because I don't shut up. I could talk forever. So this might just be me talking to myself at a in a camera.
Perfect. If you hear a, I'm just don't just ignore that. I've got a beer that has started. I've seen you do your thing. We ran on each other at the PDC. I've been, meaning to have you on here. You're turning into a very central point of great information for the dental community, and you are a specialty like just dental community. You only work in that community. Just for the listeners that don't know, can you sort of just go over and highlight some of the topics that you cover?
Yes. I run a firm called White Coat Financial, and we are a private wealth management firm that works exclusively with dentists. So we work with dentists in BC, Alberta, and Ontario primarily. And we're a bit of a one-stop shop. We kind of do everything for them. We handle their investments, we handle their insurance, we handle their mortgages and real estate planning. I do a lot of work on the clinic consulting side. So if a client's ever buying a clinic or doing a startup, I do a lot of work there, as well as the wealth advisory. And we handle their tax planning and their estate planning. And like plain English, if anything has to do with money or their business, we provide advice and support on that. Like I said, we work exclusively with dentists.
So really, just like like your entry point is anywhere. Obviously, having somebody like yourself enter the conversation, even when doctors are going through school, like the questions coming up, and we chimed in on we covered sort of these points along, before we jumped on. Like, there's a lot of folks in school right now that are kind of hesitant and going the solo operator route, especially when we talk about big markets like Toronto or Vancouver. What are you seeing from your front with these folks, and what really is the best choice? Obviously is up to the beholder and where they sit, but is it getting like out of reach to purchase, especially like right out of school situation?
For clinic ownership, like I'm very lucky where I get to work with a wide variety of clients. Like we have clients as young as, when they come back from Australia, they're like 23 or 24 years old, which is crazy, all the way to people who are retiring and they've just sold their clinic and got millions of dollars and now they're focused on retiring and everything in between. So I get to like see what your life as a client is going to look like at each stage and what's worked well and what hasn't worked well. And this is again my anecdotal evidence. I can't speak for the entire industry, but I noticed that my clients who are like over 40, they a lot of the times when I first met them or when they were in dental school, it was almost like you had to be a clinic owner or bust. Like no one really wanted to be an associate. Almost everyone wanted to be a clinic owner. Now, whether they became one or what didn't is like, again, life circumstance, what made sense for you. Did you get married? Did you have kids? There's a bunch of things that go into that. But I'm noticing with the younger generation, a lot of them more than before don't want to be clinic owners. It's not like the standard everyone wants to be a clinic owner and like they'll settle for associate. Now a lot of them are saying, you know what, I'm happy to be an associate. I have zero desire to become a clinic owner. And I don't blame them. Like the amount of work that goes into running a dental practice and the fact that the margins are just getting tighter and tighter and tighter every year And the fact that like employment laws are getting tighter and harder to sort of manage, and the real estate is going up and your lease payments are going up, and there's more and more development happening, and there's more demo clauses and relo clauses, and like I feel like being a clinic owner has gotten a lot harder over the
Yeah.
last 20 years. And people who are young associates or young dentists now are seeing what their mentor or their parents or that dentist that made them want to go into dentistry is dealing with. And they're going, I don't know if I want that.
Right.
Maybe
Yeah.
making my 3, 4, or 500K as an associate and clocking out, after I'm done with the practice is the life for me.
Yeah,
And
and
I,
also, we can that conversation can go to clinically as well. Like having, there's so much to know coming out of school. Like, it's almost like coming right directly out of school, like being so green. There's a lot of technology that they haven't been exposed to, and this stuff is not cheap when we're talking about like a $200,000 CEREC or a $200,000 CBCT. And for these clinics to be really successful, like having these tools in place means more production, more work being done, less referring out, and just like having a mentor too. Like a lot of folks that I've talked to, if we talk about enriching their spectrum of dentistry that they're doing too, like aside from it all, there's so much to learn, even green right out of school.
100%. And it's funny because like you almost have to now. I very often, like when I go into a talk, everyone will come to me, or even honestly clients are saying, I wish I learned like the business of dentistry or this financial literacy side in school. And I would say to them like, yeah, while I agree it would be wonderful that it's taught, but I'm like, where, when, how are they supposed to fit that into the curriculum when there's already so much to know? And even on that note, I feel like you're fresh out of school. It blew my mind when I first started working with dentists how much continuing education not only do they have to take for the regulatory requirements. I think that's great, but I mean how much they have to take just to keep up with the times on how techniques are changing and how treatment planning is changing and how the technology is changing and how how you present a case to a patient is changing, and the fact that you have to widen your scope and learn how to do implants and then be good at ortho and then be good at exos and all of these things. And you're doing that just to keep the margins in your practice. Because if you just run a bread and butter dentistry practice now, like, don't get me wrong, you can run a very successful one, but it's getting hard to stay alive just from like the margins. You almost have to do those specialty cases and not refer things out. Like you've been forced into that because the margins are compressing.
Yeah. Yeah. What made you get into just dental? Well, like, let's kind of backtrack. Let's hear a little bit about your story. Where did you start in all of this, and why? Like, I like coming from somebody that is also specialized in just dentistry. It's an interesting thing to tell somebody that comes into your life what you do. Where did it all start for you?
Yeah, I didn't choose dentistry. I actually always say I feel like dentistry chose me. I didn't choose it.
Yeah.
If you told me like 10 years ago that I'd be working with dentists, I'd be like, why? Like that doesn't make any sense. But I got into finance because I went to school, played university soccer and all that stuff. And I like genuinely thought I was going to be a professional soccer player. I was a delusional child. I was nowhere near good enough. I was just delusional. I thought I could make it. And then I got to my first year of university. I was playing and I was like, I'm not even the best guy on my team, let alone like being the best guy in the league or in the province. So I was like, okay, I'm not going pro. That's not happening. Mark, sorry, are you still there? Oh,
I'm still here.
okay. Sorry. I don't know. It cut out on me out of nowhere, but my apologies.
No, it's my fault.
Yeah,
It's the road show here. So.
Got it. But yeah, I apologize. I got back from, I played 1 year of school and I was like, okay, well, I'm probably not going to go pro. I should probably get started on my career. And one of my mentors, he was just like, hey, like, if you don't know what you want to do, I can connect you with a few different people. I met with like some lawyers at the time, and I met with a couple finance guys and a few different careers that I like kind of met with, and I just kind of interviewed these different people. And the guy whose life spoke out to me most was a wealth manager. I met him, and I've told this story before, but I met him at like the Terminal City Club. You're from BC, so you'll know where that is. And
Yep.
He was wearing a nice watch and a nice suit, and he was also an athlete. And then I remember when I went to go meet him, he was like gone for a swim before I went to meet him at the Terminal City Club, and I was like, this guy's like, this is a cool guy. Like I was like, who am I meeting? Like Batman or what is this? Like who goes for morning swim? And I was also very fascinated with money, not because I wanted flashy things. I came from a life where we had no money. So
Hmm.
I was like just really intrigued by, okay, like how do you earn money? How do you spend it? How do you save? How do you invest? How do you actually be a wealthy person? Not just like, oh, let me go and make my money and whatever. I was very fascinated in like, I would say the art of being wealthy. Because I do think it's a bit of an art form or a science. And then, I met him. I was sold. I was like, okay, I'm going to go into finance. Started out the bank, and I just kind of rose up the ranks. But then when I kind of finished my undergrad, I was just looking around and went, you know what? I don't know if I want to work at the bank. I could stay here. I was rising up the ranks really quickly. I had a great job. Like when I was like 22, I think I had like a career landing spot. I could have stayed there for the rest of my life if I wanted to. But something about just being at the bank was like, you know what, this isn't for me. I think
Hmm.
I could do a better job if I was completely independent, didn't have shareholders or sales targets or quotas or nothing. And then just, yeah, decided to start my own business. And when I first started, I helped anyone and everyone because I had no clients. I wasn't allowed to take any of my wealth management clients from the bank because there's very, very strict non-competes. And I don't want to compete with, a bank's legal department. That would have
Yeah.
bankrupted me. And
Deep
then
pockets, deep
slowly,
pockets.
yeah, deep pockets and not worth it. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not going to do that. And then eventually I was like, you know what? The pandemic happened. I was like, I'm going to work just with healthcare professionals because their job is stable. And if their job is stable, then my job will be stable.
Hmm.
And then that was the only like choice I actively made. I was like, okay, I'll work with healthcare professionals. And it started out with everything. Started with doctors, started with dentists, started with optometrists, started with like, physiotherapists and chiropractors, anyone in healthcare, nurses. And then eventually after about a year, I was like, you know what, I'm going to work just with doctors. That's when White Coat Financial was born. I was like,
Hmm.
that hence White Coat Financial. The thought process was if you traditionally wear a white coat, we will serve you because, I was starting to get more and more doctor clients. And I think after a year of doing that, I looked at my business and I was like, it was like, I think 80, maybe more percent of my clients were dentists. And I was like, why am I even working with anyone else? So that's why I always say I feel like dentists chose me because they were the ones that just kept referring me to their friends. And, I'd meet one client and I met one guy at one dental school. And before you know it, I'm working with half the graduating class. And it just
Yeah.
kind of kept happening. And yeah, then, yeah, the rest is history. It's kind of how
It
White Coat
really is a
Financial
small
is.
community too, right? Like if and it's great if you're doing a good job in the community, like you're gonna get referred. And transversely, if you're not, it becomes well known. Um, and again, like just the fact that they're, the group is it's a very smart group of folks, and very, it's a people focused business too. It's great that the end user is the patient, and forever evolving healthcare, matching healthcare up with dental care is like that's where we're getting to. And you nailed it a little earlier, and like the folks are like there's not enough time through school to hit the foundational pieces of education they need, as well as the business side of things. So, lucky for us, we're able to parachute in and help some of these people, right? So, um, what are you seeing? Like, what are the biggest financial mistakes that some of these young students are making coming right out of school? What have you seen?
Yeah. I would say the biggest mistake is like this, the obvious one of lifestyle inflation. It happens, and I don't judge it. I don't blame them. Like I get it. You've been in school for 20 something years. Your friends got jobs like, a couple years before you. They kind of started their life and you had to just be in dental school for all this time. You have all these student loans and you come out of school and your first paycheck is like 10 grand and then 15 grand and then 20 grand. You're like, oh, I could buy a Rolex now. And I'm like, yeah, go do it. I get it. Or I want to drive a nice car. Because look, I'm a doctor now. I've earned these things, and I'll be the first to say, yeah, you have earned these things. We just have to be mindful of how we make that decision. Is it going to shoot you in the foot? And lifestyle inflation is a never-ending, honestly, bucket. Like you could just keep pouring money out. There's always a nicer car, a nicer watch, a nicer whatever it is. I just tell all of our clients, I'm like, listen, I will promise that you will be wealthy. Like if you follow my advice and you avoid doing drugs, avoid getting divorced, and avoid getting disabled, like those are the three
Good
D's.
luck. Yeah.
Yeah. If one of those three happens, okay, I can't guarantee anything
Yeah.
for you. But other than those three, I guarantee that you'll be wealthy. So you don't actually need to be in a rush. Like the lifestyle inflation, I'm like, it's fine if it happens gradually. It's going to. It's almost inevitable. But try to slow it down. Make it gradual. Slowly, you get nicer things. Slowly, you get a nicer house because you can have everything you want. I think it's a popular saying. You can have everything you want, just not all at once. And I tell everyone that. Like that's probably the biggest mistake. I think the other mistakes are just doing things out of FOMO or like because other
Sure.
people are doing it.
Hmm.
Like that takes on such a life of its own of like I'm gonna invest in this random meme coin because all my friends are doing it, or I'm gonna go buy a house because I feel like I have to own my property, or I'm gonna go and start a clinic even though I don't even feel ready to do it. I just feel like
Yeah.
it's something I have to do. There's like this financial peer pressure that I find with people, and that they feel like they have to go down a certain path. I have to become a clinic owner. I have to become a multi real estate, developer. I have to develop properties every year. It's like,
Hmm.
no, you don't have to do that. You don't have to have seven streams of income. If I could burst everyone's bubble, seven streams of income is not how you become wealthy. It's how you stay wealthy. The
Yeah.
wealthiest people in the world became wealthy because they got really, really good at one thing. The wealthiest clients I have just do dentistry. They don't have a restaurant business. They don't develop properties on the side. No, they are masters of their craft. They're the guys you see speaking up at the stages. They're the guys who teach the courses. They're the guys who have clinics and are faculty members. They are obsessed with dentistry and they are the wealthiest, not because they have seven streams of income. It's because they're really good. I would argue world class at one thing. And we take that, like that income, and it's really what my job is. Let me take this active income that you're earning and this focus and put that into diversified buckets that will build those seven streams of income for you. So I'd feel like those are like the big mistakes people make is like lifestyle inflation, and I would argue like shiny object syndrome of
Oh,
like
there's
let me
so
go
many
in and
shiny, the shiny object syndrome. I love it.
yeah,
Yeah.
shiny object syndrome.
Yeah.
And then I would say the last one is really like financial peer pressure. Like I feel like those are
Mhm.
the big three things that go wrong in people's lives early. If I could add a fourth, it'd be like marrying the wrong person. Be very picky about who you marry. Yeah, very, very picky about who you. It's better to be single than be in a relationship with the wrong person.
It's an expensive venture.
Yeah.
Yeah, like nobody has a crystal ball too. It's tough. It's tough. And I do really feel that this industry is very, it's follow the leader. There's ego involved as well, and people don't they want to be seen, and it's one of those things. But that's great where there's somebody like you that could really sit down and like, what's your vision? Like, how are you? Let's build your pathway, not anybody else's, right? Because everybody's variables are different, aren't they?
Oh my God. Like the amount of variability in two people's lives, I see it all the time. And
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
especially on the younger side, hey, like my friend is incorporated, but you recommend that I don't incorporate. But like we went out for dinner last night and they're incorporated. I'm not. Why
Yeah.
not? And I'm like, I can't disclose to you why that individual is incorporated, and you're not. But it might be because they don't have $350,000 in student
Hmm.
loans.
Hmm.
In fact, they might actually have $500,000 saved up because their parents have done some early gifting to them. I can't tell you that, but you don't know that at the dinner table. You and your friend are not discussing your financial situation. So I think like there's a
On that
lot of
note, like that's actually a great segue into this next question is when should somebody incorporate like setting up structure for tax planning, and that's when's appropriate for that.
I've always said incorporation is not an event, it's a ratio. Or at least the motivation to incorporate is based on a ratio. And that ratio is how much income do I earn versus how much do I have to spend? Like my minimum mandatory spending for basic life necessities like housing and transportation and groceries. And the larger that gap between your income and your expenses, the more incentive there is to incorporate. And so like people hear, okay, at after a year you should incorporate, or after 2 years you should incorporate, or right out of school you should incorporate. It's like no, it's not based on time. It is
Yeah.
fully based on a ratio. And that ratio is like I just said, what is the gap between your income and your expenses? And like, people hear this all the time, and you might go to dental school with your buddies, but you have wildly different life circumstances. One of you might have no student loans, and the other one might have 300 grand in student loans. One of you might have to support aging parents, and you are their retirement strategy, whereas the other one is getting early inheritance. Everyone is different, and so it really comes down to what's your unique circumstances. Like, where are you today? Where do you want to go? And then, shameless plug, my job is how do we map out the most efficient path to get from A to B? How do we bridge that gap sort of between where you're at and where you want to be in the most efficient way? And it's going to be wildly different for everyone because everyone's circumstances are completely different and goals are different. And like, I would argue even temperament is different. Like, I have some people who just, it doesn't matter how much I explain to them that the stock market is going to be volatile, it
Yeah.
keeps them up at night. Where it doesn't matter to some people, where I will walk them through on paper, hey, it doesn't make sense for you to actually pay off your line of credit this aggressively. But they just hate seeing it and they want to pay it off. So like even your temperament has to be factored in to a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. Oh, geez, there's a lot of things that are keeping people up at night these days, isn't there? Like every time you turn on a screen, it's in front of you. It's you can cut through the anxiety out there with a knife. It's crazy. It took my mom in the BC market at like a year and 3 months to sell her house. It's really wild times. Insurance, like over-insuring, under-insuring, with everything being so volatile. What's a good strategy there?
I feel like insurance is one of the most poorly diagnosed financial products in Canada. And I've said this like quite a bit in the past. I've actually been quite vocal about how I feel about insurance. And like, funny enough, it's landed me in hot water with like some of my colleagues, which I also don't care about.
Fun.
Anyone who ever gets offended, yeah, anyone who gets offended by what I say, I'm like, I wonder why that offends you. Maybe we should look into that a little bit more.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because
Like
insurance,
let's go on that too. Like personal incentive to sell these packages that are just that's makes me angry. You know?
yeah, oh, it drives me up the wall because I'm like, why? Like, I'll give you an example, and it's probably one of the worst examples I've seen. I met a young woman. She was 5 years out of dental school. She was, I think, in her early 30s. She had no children, no spouse, no mortgage, like no liabilities whatsoever. She's completely debt free, living her life, no one dependent on her. This poor woman had a $5 million whole life insurance. Sorry,
Oh.
yeah, whole life insurance policy, $5 million.
Hmm.
She was told it's an investment. I think I can't remember off the top of my head. I think she was paying 4 grand a month for the policy, something like that, 4,000 monthly for this plan. And I remember looking at her going, "Why do you have this? Like, if you died today, no one is going to financially suffer. You don't need life insurance." And it's not like she had a ton of assets that would pass on to her heirs and she had to pay the taxes for them. So I'm like, why do you have it? She's like, oh, I was told it's an investment. I was like, no, it's not. Like, it is. There's an investment portion to it, but like, you don't need it at all. And the rationale is, I could tell you right now that insurance advisor probably got paid like a 50,
Yeah.
$60,000 commission on
Dirty.
that plan. And
Yeah.
I just always viewed it as like, it's really easy to sell to. Like, if I said, Mark, do you want your family to suffer if you passed away? You would say no. Okay, great. There's the first emotional incentive. Do you want this money, if you did buy life insurance, do you want all the money to go to waste? Or do you want it to build an investment that grows on a tax sheltered basis? You, of course, want it to grow on a tax sheltered basis. Do you want your life insurance to stay the same? Or do you want it to grow over the years and keep up with inflation or beat inflation? Of course, you want it to grow. I just sold you permanent life insurance. And it's like, do you need it? Probably not. I would argue there's only three types of people who need that type of life insurance. It's someone who's much older and very wealthy and has the desire to pay the taxes for their children when they pass away. Because, when you pass away, all your assets are pretty much taxed before they move on from one generation to the other. And if you really want your kids to inherit the most, then sure, you can get one of these plans. And the second type of person is probably someone who's like completed life financially. Their RSP's full, their TFSA's full, they got a massive corporate investment account, and they're now being taxed at a really high rate on some of the passive income that they earn inside their corporation. Okay, sure, there's another incentive there. Maybe the third incentive is someone who wants a way to diversify some of the different assets they have. But like, those are the only three. And I would argue 99% of Canadians do not need these plans.
Yeah.
But they're sold in a way that, like, this is how the top 1% invest, and this is how Rockefeller did it, and this is how Jim Pattison did it. And I'm like, it's just very, very It's slimy. I don't know what else to say.
Like when you boil it down, that's what it is. It's just these slime balls that are looking for a commission check, and I'm totally okay saying that. Um,
Yeah. So am
you
I.
know,
I'd say, yeah, exactly.
there's so many variables involved, and there's so many different types of insurance as well to make it sort of like this guy like seemingly knows what he's talking. He sounds like he knows what he's talking about. I think he has his best interest in mind, but he's making some cash on some of these plans. Like let's just be responsible. Yeah,
And don't get me wrong, whole life insurance is like, it's not a bad product. It just needs to be used the right way. Very
yeah,
similar, like I explained to my clients who are dentists. If someone comes in for a filling, you don't start doing a full mouth rehab on it. Like
yeah,
you fill it, or you do an endo, and maybe you extract it. You don't instantly skip all the way to like the most intense, complicated procedure.
yeah,
Same thing. This product is an extremely sophisticated product. It can be set up the right way, and it is extremely valuable, but for the right person in the right circumstances. To just say, oh, someone's a dentist and they have a corporation and they need this is like, it's ludicrous. That's like saying, I want to shave my head and I want to cut my hair and I'm going to go and get chemo instead. It's like, no,
yeah,
just shave your head. You don't need to go into chemotherapy to have a shaved
yeah,
head. That's
yeah,
how crazy that like circumstance is, and it happens all the time. You see these ads on Instagram of like, hey, here's a way to take money out of your corporation efficiently. And it's like, sure, but does it actually make sense for this person? Probably not.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And man, like there's all sorts of things on that front, like legal and leasing and all that stuff. It's when I see that stuff, it just gives me anxiety. Like, it's and who do you trust, right? It's man, oh man, I can see why. Yeah, dirty, dirty, dirty. Man, oh man, let's move on.
Yeah,
Um,
I think it's best we move. I'm sure I could get real fired up and it won't be good. Yeah, I'll
yeah,
regret it
no, I
later.
don't. I like. Let's not go like it's Friday, right? Let's. Um, so dentists looking to acquire practice. What's one due diligence step most buyers skip that you're seeing?
Honestly, I feel like the whole due diligence they skip. There's not like most people who buy a practice. How do they go and buy a practice? They go onto the brokerage, they look at the appraisal, the numbers look decent to them. They check with their lawyer to make sure there's not like a demolition or a relocation clause, and then their accountant says, "Yeah, the numbers look good," and then their banker says, "Yeah, the numbers look good," and then they buy the practice. Like if I'm being frank, that's how most people buy their practice. Don't get me wrong, there's some steps in between,
Hmm.
but I don't think that people stress test the numbers enough
Yes.
when they're doing the due diligence. Let me look at this practice. What is it currently producing? Okay, well, what if we had patient churn of 20%?
Yeah.
Don't assume you are going to walk into that practice and grow revenue day one,
It's going to
because
happen too. Yeah. Yeah.
it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But I'll say, I've said this at probably every talk, and I'll continue saying this. When you go and buy a practice, everyone like the first thing is, I'll grow the revenue and I'll cut the expenses, and I'm like, uh, duh, yes, of course. I have never met a lazy or stupid dentist in my life. They're smart people who are extremely hardworking. And yes, I'm painting with a broad brush, but I would argue just to get into dental school, you have to have those two attributes. You have to be smart and you have to be hardworking. And then to be a clinic owner, maybe you have to have that even hyperbolized a little bit. And I'm like, the last guy who was here, who was selling this practice, has probably tried to grow the revenue and decrease the expenses. It's a lot harder than it looks.
Yeah.
Unless you have like some special skill set. Let's say you used to be, I have a client who he was a periodontist back home. And when he came to Canada, he bought a practice that exclusively was sending out a lot of perio referrals. And he's like, oh, I could just keep a lot of these in house. It was a good purchase for him.
Hmm.
But that's not the case for everyone. You really have to look at that clinic and go, okay, what is it currently producing? Can I withstand a reduction in production? Can I then layer on the full, debt servicing costs? And then on top of that, how much money do I, as the owner, have to draw from this practice? Because you might be making a 40 or 45% split at your associateship, and you might be pulling in 400,000. Can this practice sustain your $400,000 draw out of it or no?
Right.
And do
Right.
I need to reduce my salary? Then you got to look at your own personal financial situation and go, can I withstand a decrease in income? And what happens if I get disabled? What happens if there's a job loss? You really have to stress test. Like when I'm running financials, you would laugh. Like, you should see the tab at the bottom of my Excel sheet. There's like 10 different scenarios that are stress tested, because I'm like, we need to be prepared for all of these things before you go and buy this practice. Because you just said your mom had a hard time selling her house in British Columbia for a year and 3 months. Try selling a clinic. It's way harder than selling a house. And so once you're in it, like, it is, I joke with some of my young clients, I'm like, it's more permanent than your marriage. Like, you are in this practice. It's easier to get a divorce than it is to sell your clinic. So you better make sure that this was the right move for you. But like, to answer your question more plainly, yes, you want your lawyers to look through that lease. Yes, you want to make sure that, there's staff contracts and all that stuff in place. That's really what the lawyer is going to do. Where I end up helping my clients is really just projecting those numbers and stress testing them and looking at this practice and going, is this thing worth what I'm buying it for?
Yeah.
And then once it is, can I service this practice? And is this a good purchase for me? Because that clinic might be a great purchase for another dentist, but it could be a catastrophic purchase for you. Your clinic has to fit you like a glove. Is this practice right for me and my circumstances, my skill set, and how much income I need to live? And I think that's the biggest flaw. Most people don't do it that way.
Yeah. Another thing I'm seeing too is like an inflated active patient base, where people are inflating these numbers that are actually true. And, you talked about churn too. Like, the principal owners moving on. If there's some sort of transition, I think transition sales work the best, where the previous owner sticks around and transfers those patients over. Because I think there was like, don't quote me on this stat, but you can expect to lose like 20 to 25% of that patient base, when their dentist of 30 years is moving on. Right, that's something to be considered. Unless you're like son or daughter moving in that beautiful position, like fitting as a glove. You don't even have to change the last name on the logo outside, right? Yeah.
You really have to be mindful of that. And you're absolutely right with the active patient count. How are they defining active patients? Is it anyone who's walked by this dental clinic in the last 5 years?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's the one guy walked past our clinic. Every car that drives by is a potential active patient. It's like, no, what do you, it can be quite crazy with how these appraisals are done. And I don't blame the person appraising that practice, because their job is to get the top dollar for their client. Yeah. So you have to come in there very skeptical on day one anyways. You have to.
Yeah. What are you advising sort of just in sort of diagnosing that number properly in the beginning? Like, how do you do that? Are you pulling practice management numbers? Like, you pulling right from actual data? Because like active patient is somebody that's obviously had a dental something happen in that practice within 2 years. That's what I understand.
I want to see that PMS software for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I want to see total patients. I want to see everything come in. I want to look through all of that. Then I want to benchmark it of like, either this clinic is phenomenal and it's the best clinic I've seen, or these numbers are a bit inflated. You want to look at, okay, what is reasonable? And don't get me wrong, like, I'm working on a clinic right now, and the owner's asking for $8 million on this practice. And don't get me wrong, it's a very well-run practice. But like, do the numbers make sense? They were like, I was looking at just how many patients are coming in, and I was like, you cannot, even if you wanted to, handle an extra 200 patients a year. You couldn't. Your schedule's like fully booked out. So like, how do you expect this person to come in and improve revenue? Like, you have, hats off, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you have a phenomenal practice. But that also means there's no upside on this clinic. You have peaked. We're not going to be growing the revenue on this thing unless magically the fee guide continues increasing and insurance refunds or like insurance coverage increases as well. No, probably not, right? Those haven't really changed in, tens and tens of years. So I think, just really looking at that active patient count, stress testing the numbers, and more importantly, just looking at benchmarks of like, is this even reasonable for you to increase that much? I think that's kind of important to look through.
Yeah. Pardon the noises. I've got little midgets running around here. You talk about the climb, right? From purchase to the end of the road. When should somebody look at wealth management? Like, when should, like, obviously there's a time to spend a certain amount of dollars on marketing. Like, when should wealth management come into the conversation?
I think honestly, like, I think working with an advisor as early as you can is the smartest thing because you just don't know what you don't know. The amount of clients I've had that said, "Man, I wish I met you 5 years ago or ten
Yeah,
years
I bet.
ago,"
Yeah.
they would be in a drastically different spot. Because like that's why I actually really like working with some of the younger clients, even if they don't have, let's say, a lot of wealth. Like traditionally, most of my clients like are now starting to be in that 40 to 50 range because they're older, they actually have some money to actually set aside. But I love working with those clients in their 30s because or even, late 20s. Because for me, I'm like, I get to compound the decisions that we make for the next 2 or 3 decades. There is going to be a difference of millions of dollars in your net worth when you turn 60 as a result of us working together, hopefully. So I would say as early as possible is when you should start looking at wealth management. But don't get me wrong, I have clients right now who they might like. There's one guy who screams out to me every time I think about it. His net worth is probably $15 million. He does not have a dime in his RSP, his TFSA, his corporate investment account. It's all clinic equity. He's one of my clients. You would argue, what are you doing for him? Well, like a lot of the times it's just consulting and advising. Like, hey, here's how we should structure it. Here's how the corporation should look for the
Yeah.
next practice. Here's where we need to add a family trust. It's just ongoing consulting and advising on how should I be structuring my business and my finances. So like I would argue as early as possible.
Yeah, timely for sure. Like that compounding, you know, exponential, exponential.
It's not just on your investments, it's on your
Yeah.
effort and decisions.
Yeah.
Like I think your decisions compound the same way your money does.
Well, I mean, if you like in the case of like overinsurance, like if you're paying a premium every month that's not necessary, and then you can utilize that cash flow somewhere else in the business. It's those things are rather than flying blind without any sort of gear on the plane. It's nice to see see where the altitude is, right?
Exactly.
What does like a healthy debt to income ratio look like?
Uh Honestly, healthy. Like I struggle with that one because like don't get me wrong, there's obviously everyone knows there's good debt, there's bad debt. I have clients with tens of millions of dollars in clinic loans. Am I worried about their actual debt levels? Like, no, we have sufficient insurance. The clinics are doing well, and like, we're okay with that. But of course, on the back side of that, like, don't get me wrong, he has 100% loan to financing, like, on his actual clinic. He's 100% loans. So his debt to like net worth ratio is probably not great, but the cash flow coming in is more than sufficient to cover all like, the debt servicing. I would hope that like your debt servicing costs are less than a third of your actual lifestyle or like your actual overhead. That to me, I feel like if it's above and beyond that, you don't have a lot of room left to spend money on other things. Ideally, like take that with a grain of salt. Some people it might be higher, some people it might be lower. If it's higher for a short period of time, that's okay. Don't get me wrong, like people come out of school and they're like, okay, all my money is going towards paying off my debts and my clinic loan or whatever, my
Mm-hmm.
mortgage. That's fine for temporary periods. You just don't want a long-term sprint where you're making 30, 40, $50,000 per month and you're paycheck to paycheck because you have a massive mortgage and a massive clinic loan and you still got your student line of credit and you got two leases on two Mercedes Benzes. Like you have a miserable existence at 50 grand a month. I've worked with people like that, and I'm like,
Yeah.
on the outside it looks great, but like you are just debt servicing.
Yeah.
Like you're not getting ahead. You're paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
You just want to be very mindful of how much debt you have in your lifetime because that's honestly not to sound like all spiritual. That's when you get depressed. That's when you feel like you're in this rat race and on a hamster wheel because you're thinking to yourself, I'm making 50, 60, 70, 100 grand a month sometimes. And like I'm just barely covering all my overhead. And I now have to produce. This goes back to our earlier discussion of like people having to produce hundreds of thousands of
Yeah.
dollars per year in dentistry in order to sustain their lifestyle. And that's what happens when it's like, okay, well, now I have to like, I'm a general dentist, but now I pretty much have to be a prosthodontist because I've gone and like had to do all this continuing education and like learn how to place implants and learn how to do
Yeah.
extraction. And now I'm doing the cosmetic stuff. And I have to expand my scope so much because I need to produce this amount of money. And I think that's the only thing that does that to you because those
Yeah.
are mandatory obligations. If you just want to invest really aggressively or you want to make a lot of income and you don't have those minimum debt servicing payments, you could make that level of income and have a lot of freedom in your life. So you just want to be very mindful because debt is a double-edged sword. Yes, it can help you grow your net worth, but it could also be the reason that like you're just on this treadmill constantly.
We talk about the industry being one of the highest suicide rates on the planet, right? I think a lot of that ties into the conversation, and maybe marrying the wrong person as well. Like, I shouldn't laugh, but yeah, like sorting these variables out will help people sleep at night. It's nice to know, your mind's on your money, your money's on your mind. Like you know which buckets things are going into, and you're going to be able to pay your staff at the end of the month, and you can afford to buy that nice car, right? Or go on that trip.
I honestly feel like my job a little bit. I joke with people. I was like, I'm like an expensive Xanax. Like, you're never,
Yeah.
you're gonna have a lot of peace of mind after working with me because you don't. That whole conversation of money is like off their mind. Like the best relationships I have with my clients are like the ones where like I literally don't think about what money's coming in and where it's going because I know that we've allocated everything to the right places. I know I'm gonna be fine in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. I know we have a plan for how I'm going to pay for my kids' education. I know we have a plan for what we're doing. Like the fact that they're like, oh, I know the money's all going to the right places. I just got to show up to the clinic and work. Yeah, that's why I always joke like, yeah, I feel like an expensive Xanax because everyone's number one thing that they're thinking about constantly is usually their money. Like constantly. Everyone is thinking constantly about how much do I earn? How much do I spend? How do I make more? How do I save more? Everyone's thinking about money 24/7. The only thing that like takes your mind off that is usually an acute issue in your life, like either a health issue or a family issue. And as soon as those come back down and they're normal, you're healthy again, your kids are doing well again, or your relationship's doing well again, you're right back to thinking about money.
Well,
like,
I mean,
for me, I take a lot of pride in that, like taking care of that problem for you,
and having these points in check, so that if something, heaven forbid, comes up in your life, that you're okay, like, or your family's okay, or the practice will continue on, and you're not like, man, I can't imagine that. Like that would be terrifying if there was no plan in place for these things. You emphasize being like the importance of being an independent from a brokerage or from the banks. Why is that so important? And I know what your answer is going to be, but I want to hear what you got to say.
Yeah, obviously it just comes down to, it's very similar to a dentist who maybe doesn't want to work at a DSO. You just feel like I run my ship how I want it, and I could do what's right. Because like this might sound crazy, but I run my practice a lot on like vibes. It's like, who do I like? Who do I want to work with? And like, totally. I'll have clients who come in, and don't get me wrong, on paper they're a great client, but I don't work with them because I'm like, I'm gonna be in your life for the next 40 years, maybe. I need to get along with you. We gotta like borderline be friends. That's kind of how I run my practice. I gotta like you, and you gotta like me, and we have to be friends. Like maybe that's not the best setting to do things professionally. But
no, I think you're right. I think. Honestly, I think it's about the journey, right? It's about who you take along, and if you have a gift to give, and I can tell you're absolutely passionate about what you do, and you're an honest individual. Like you don't have the capacity to work with everybody, so you have the luxury to take the folks in that you do want to work with. And I work the same way. I think the outcome is you're just happy to get up in the morning and do your work and do your thing.
I just work with my friends. Like that's what it's turned. That's why I have such a blast at PDC, because it's not like I'm going to a work event. It's like I'm seeing all my buddies in one spot.
Great. Yeah, for one weekend. I am still recovering from PDC, not because I drank, but like it just getting pulled in every direction. There's so many amazing and wonderful people doing so many great things. It's a fun place to be, and like what a we're I could say it too. Like we're blessed to have the luxury of having a service and a gift that's high value, where we can essentially vet, right?
But to answer your question even more explicitly, like yes, I've always felt that being independent just gives me autonomy and flexibility over what I can say to clients, what I advise, what product they have. So like, the logistical answer is I have unlimited access to products. I don't have sales quotas. I don't have quotas. I don't have shareholders I have to impress. I don't have a job I'm chasing, like a promotion. None of that. That all goes away as soon as I run my own firm. But then the other side of that coin is having autonomy and flexibility to do things the way I want to do it.
It's freedom.
And for me, it's always what is in the best interest of the client. Because one thing about me is like, funny enough, as a wealth manager, I don't care about money. It's like, don't get me wrong, it's here today, it's gone tomorrow. I've come from a situation where I literally had no money. We grew up on welfare. And then I've had a situation where, like, I feel comfortable. I've seen both sides of the spectrum, and money it's fickle. It's here today,
You're
it's
right.
gone tomorrow.
It's if you're fixated on that, I think you're like this the echo chamber I come from as well. Like you're kind of missing the beautiful everything else that kind of surrounds that. Like if you're
It's the
chasing,
relationship.
yeah,
And like for me, a big thing in business, forget like, okay, of course, your relationships with your friends, your family, your parents, and your clients. But for me, the biggest thing I actually care about these days is reputation.
yeah,
We in 2026, we have a world in which anything can be bought. Your fame, your
yeah,
college degree, your body, your everything can be purchased.
yeah,
The only thing I feel, and everything's fake these days. AI is fake. People can not actually be that intelligent. They could be reading off a prompter and like sound really smart. I feel like 2026, maybe I'm jaded. It's very fake. The
yeah,
one thing I feel like cannot be faked though is your reputation.
yeah,
Why? Because you can build your reputation up for your entire life and it could be gone in 1 second. It is the only thing that is the ultimate test of time, in my opinion. It is the only thing that is the test of true character. It is the only thing that is truth, and it always comes out. And for me, I'm like, that's all that matters. We talked about dentistry of like, it's a small space.
it really is.
I
Yeah,
like that for our clients because I'm
me
like,
too.
I have to do a good job for you. And if I don't, I'm
Yep,
gone tomorrow. I'll
yep,
be one of those advisors who was here for 5 years, sold everyone their insurance, and then disappeared. And it's like, I don't want to be that guy. I want to be
yeah,
the guy who's in your life for the next 40 years. And it's like,
yeah.
reputation is the only thing that maintains that.
And I don't know how people can go through life and just it's well like you're a psychopath, I guess, if you can just rip people off and then like victims, right? Like, oh man. Yeah. It's yeah. Just do the right thing, and then like you talk about the money thing too. If you're doing the right thing and you've got a great value to offer, you're gonna be, like
You
you're
don't
gonna
have to
be
worry
fine.
about money then.
You don't have
You
to
know?
worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially if what you have to deliver is a unique thing to, like, you've really niched it down. Like it's a cool thing, right? Like that's kind of a secret sauce, I think. And you quickly become somebody that there's not many other people like you out there. So that's a pretty cool place to be.
Yeah, I think it's less even just about being like this novelty and more so around like, I will very openly say the clients that I worked with at the start of my career who are dentists versus the value I could provide to my latest client is night and day.
Yeah.
I am 1,000 times better at what I do. And it's actually not because my technical knowledge has gotten a lot better. Not to, like, again, I've progressed professionally and all of that, but I understand that the industry is so much better now. And I know what your life looks like 1,000 times over. This decision you're having of this practice or not, I've now made that decision 100 times over with other people. So having that niche is what makes you a better advisor or a better anything. I don't care what it is. Like if we could all agree the best dentists are the ones who are niche down. They are the best at
Yeah.
their actual thing. The reason specialties exist,
It's the
'cause
nuances.
that's
It really is. It's the devil's in the detail. I think
it really
if you know down to how the dentist wakes up and feels in the morning, because of all the variables,
which is probably stiff and sore.
yeah,
That's other in the morning.
yeah, totally.
Man.
How's the podcast going along? That's another thing that you're doing is the Dental Journeys podcast. How's that coming along?
No, it's not coming along.
No? Oh.
It's really like, don't get me wrong. Me and Ricky, my co-host, and I, Dr. Hamami, he's out in the West Coast.
Yep.
It's great. We do it, but I would say we're not very good at being consistent. We also
It's tough.
we hit a big snag. He and I both had a child at the same time, and we got really, really busy. We
That'll do
both
it.
went through that newborn phase together, and the podcast just completely fell to like the bottom of the to-do list. We have a few episodes coming out soon, but yeah, it's going. But we have not been consistent enough with it.
As a super biased, podcaster type, we talk about like the amount that you can pick up on doing these, like the folks that I've been able to sit down and have an hour conversation with, like over the last 6 years. Like, I'm so lucky. It's like like to peel back the onion on so many fronts is such a cool thing. I like get back to it. If I can recommend,
Yeah, no,
anything.
Ricky and I both love doing it too,
Yeah.
and we found it to be really helpful because like we get to talk to different dentists, and it's nice because I'm sure you have experienced this. Like I have listened to your podcast, and like when you and I met each other for the first time, it didn't feel like I didn't know you. I don't know how
Yeah.
to explain
Yeah.
it. Like it was
Yeah.
like it's an icebreaker. Now when I meet you, there is no like, oh, so who are you? What do you do? It's
Yeah.
like I instantly know you. I get to know a bit of your personality because I get to listen to hours of your content. So it's really helpful in the way that it actually connects people, which is the whole point of social media in the first place, I guess.
You would hope so, right? It's like, again, you were talking about the whole AI thing coming through and how everything's easy to be fabricated with a, like if you're talking about some sort of shot to eliminate fat or whatever that might be, Botox and all of it. But I think everybody's more successful if they're just their genuine self and doing the right thing for, like whatever your gift is and whatever arena that you're fighting in. If you're, genuine and delivering value, and not taking, if you're giving more than you're taking, you're gonna be good at no matter what you do. So,
Couldn't agree.
Yeah. On that note, there's kids around here somewhere. I gotta run back, but let's grab a lunch when I'm back in town. Any final thoughts before we kick it off here into the weekend?
No. I think honestly, just do good, be good. I went down a rabbit hole. I don't watch the news very much.
Yeah.
You would think I do in my profession, but I don't watch a lot of it. And for the first time last week, I don't know why, I decided to start looking into the news and seeing what's going on in the world a little bit more deeply. And I just feel like, honestly, just be a good person, do good, do right by your neighbor, do right by the guy next to you. Try, exactly as you said, give back to society more than you take from it, and you'll be just fine. Like to every dentist I talk to, and I'm like, take care of your patients, take care of your family, and more importantly, take care of yourself, and everything else will take care of itself.
Yeah,
Like,
love it. Yeah, very timely. Yeah, it's the rabbit hole. Yeah, that's a whole other conversation. But man, thank you so much for your time, and we'll have to do this again in person
absolutely.
next time. Come into the studio next time. Yeah.
I appreciate you having me on, Mark. I've been a listener of the pod, so it's nice to kind of be on the side of it. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate it, man. I hope there's folks out there listening. It's great.
100%.
All right, buddy.
Awesome. Take care, Mark.